All right, welcome everybody to Coffee and Curtains. This is Rebecca Munster from Rebecca Munster Designs, and today we're tackling Roman shades. We're pretty excited about this topic. It's not only a practical product, but it's also very pretty. We can't wait to dig in. So, Debbie?
And my name is Debbie Hall from Designer Draperies. I am located in New Jersey. Rebecca and I have been working together for quite some time now.
Yeah.
She's in Maryland. Well, really, where do you consider your
Yeah, I'm in
location?
the DC area. Yeah,
DC
I'm in Maryland, but I cover the whole DC area.
Okay, and I'm right across, I'm in South Jersey, the Shore area, Philadelphia, kind of right in that area. All right, so let's get moving on Roman shades, demystifying Roman shades.
Right. I think to start off, we wanted to just go over with you guys the basic types of Roman shades because there's more than one. There's probably a couple others that aren't on here that some people may consider Roman shades, or the rest of us consider different types of shades. But this is a nice set, don't you think, Debbie, of like basic Roman shades?
Yeah, I mean, this is typically what you're going to see for the Romans. Uh, we've got the flat Roman shade, which I don't know about you, but I'm finding has gotten to be one of the most popular ones
Absolutely.
that my clients
Absolutely.
are requesting. Uh,
Yeah. They
so
like that clean look with the pretty folds at the bottom. And if you've got a really neat fabric, it really showcases the fabric. So,
it
yeah.
does now because when it's down, it's flat, but then as you raise it up, it starts to, you start to have folds. Now, the only time that sometimes I think it gets to be a little much is if you have a really narrow,
Mm,
long window, because then you're not able to see as much pattern because
right.
it's a narrow window and you have such a deep stack when you're raising it. So,
Yeah.
but otherwise,
Yeah.
I love the
And
flat.
it can kind of look like a flat sheet if it's you don't pick the right kind of fabric, and if it's
Definitely.
really long and narrow. Yeah, I could see that makes sense. That makes perfect sense. But it is a really popular one, and
It is.
I have a sample of one here that is a flat Roman shade.
All right, good. So we'll be able to show that in a little bit. Now, you were
Yeah.
talking about it looking like a sheet. And when I have a client that wants to go with a white or an off-white, very simple, very clean, a
Mm-hmm.
lot of times instead of going with the flat Roman shade, I'm going to go with either like the knife pleat or the
Yep.
ribbed pleat because it gives a little bit more dimension. Uh,
Yeah.
gives a lot of dimension compared to a flat Roman. Um,
Yep.
and the flat Roman is perfect for a pattern.
Mm-hmm.
The ribbed and knife pleats, my personal preference is typically for a solid because when I start doing the ribbed pleat or the knife pleat, you know, you've got little seams in there, and
Yep.
depending on the pattern that you have, you lose your pattern match. So
Yep.
it looks like a mishmash. It does not look custom
Yep.
because you're not getting the exact pattern match, which is imperative.
Yeah. I couldn't agree with you more. If I'm doing a pattern, it's usually the flat or the relaxed Roman shade. And if I'm doing a solid or even a textured knife pleat and rib pleat, it just makes a world of a difference.
Right. And you know, the flat and the relaxed is also great when you've got something like a great big medallion,
Yeah.
something like that where you can place it. It looks gorgeous. Uh,
Yep.
the hobbled, I do not do lately. I mean, you know, 20 years ago, the hobbled, nobody would do a flat.
Yeah.
But everybody likes the clean look now. The hobbled, I still do on occasion. I tend to do the hobbled more though when I'm doing something like a faux valance. You know,
Okay.
and I'll show you further down the road where I tend to do the most with hobbled. It is a very traditional look. It's a little bit more of a fussy look compared to all these other styles.
And
Uh,
I think in general, the hobbled's going to run you a little bit more too because it requires a lot more fabric.
Oh, yes, definitely. More
Hmm.
fabric and more labor. I
Yeah.
mean, it is even more labor intensive.
Yeah. And I would say one of the things that we aren't going to go too deep into, but just know like for every one of those lines you see on that rib pleat, There's the same thing on the flat, you just don't see it. There are little tiny rings that get hand sewn to the back of those shades. So there is a lot of labor involved in the Roman shades to get them to look as beautiful as they do when they end up in our windows.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Mhm.
All right. Okay. So the next thing we were going to talk about is inside mount versus outside mount.
Mhm.
And my
This
preference,
I mean, that's always an important thing to talk about, Debbie and I would tell you, but I think there are some really important things to keep in mind when you're trying to make that decision on a Roman shade, just the nature of the way that they're engineered.
yeah, and I'm going to tell you my preference on a Roman is so long as I've got enough of a, boxing around the window, I'm going to do an inside mount any day that's possible for me. I just like the look of it because
Yeah.
it's going to sit back closer to the window. Now you do end up getting light gaps on the left and right because whenever
Hmm.
you put something inside mounted, it can't go from edge to edge. If it does, you're not going to be able to raise it up and down. It's going to be
Hmm.
scraping on the sides of the window boxing. But I do like the clean look, especially if there's a beautiful molding.
Yeah.
That really sets things off.
Yeah. Yeah. And you can see when you look at the side of this Roman shade, and this one's actually fairly narrow, but the shade comes off the front.
Oh, this one
So,
here?
yep. Well,
Yep.
just if you look at I don't know if you can see me on this,
Oh,
in my,
hold on. I
where
want
I
to
am.
see. There you go.
So, sometimes they're wider. This one's actually fairly narrow because of the kind of mechanism it's got. But the shape comes off the front. And that's why it's important to consider that when you are thinking about inside mount or outside mount. If I can fit this into my frame of my window, you're going to have just a really nice, clean look. And it doesn't matter that it comes off the front. If I outside mount it, you can still absolutely 100% make that work. You just need to be aware that you'll have pretty returns if you're doing outside mount. Will make that look really pretty for you, but you will have some space between the front of the shade and the wall. Does that
Right.
make
And then,
sense?
yes. And then the other thing is that if we put a valance, then your shade can come off the back of
Mm-hmm.
of the I'm stumbling here. The
The
Roman
headrail.
comes off the back, and then the valance covers right here covers the mechanisms. So
Yeah.
there's two great looks. This one you can get it the closest to the window when it's hanging because it comes off the back. This other one it is going to stick out a little bit further if it's inside the window or even if it's an outside mount.
And sometimes the way we deal with that, because sometimes doing it outside the window, again, we've talked before on other episodes about hiding architectural issues, right? So if
Yes.
those windows happen to be kind of too low on the wall and you want to raise it up, you can absolutely put a Roman shade outside mount and up above the window frame so you can get rid of some of that space that you've got up there. But again, you want to go out a little bit wider on the window then so that as it comes down, it looks pretty and it seems in proportion. So just some things to think about. I mean, you really can do it either way, depending on the best, depending on what you're trying to accomplish. But
Right.
I think I agree with Debbie 100%. If it is a window where I've got a nice deep sill and a nice deep window frame, and I'm not concerned about covering up any architectural details, that inside mount is just a really nice, clean look.
Yeah. And I see that we've got some other people joining us, and I'd just like to say welcome.
Hello.
As we keep going on, our next slide that we're looking at is really talking about the different control options. And we've got. I'm just going to run through them quickly. Motorization, and then we have a cordless one system. And Rebecca, I know you've got that cordless one.
I
Please show
do.
us
I
because
do. Yes. So this is on that cordless one system. So there is a ring on the back, like in that picture. And when I pull on that ring on the back, it pulls the Roman shade down, and with an easy pull, it comes back up. It's a really nice, really nice, easy to use mechanism.
it's so convenient. It locks in at a good point. The traditional clutch, I'm going to tell you, the only time I'm going to use that is if the window is too tall for someone like, okay, so Rebecca is all of 4'0" nothing.
Right?
And she's got 9-foot ceilings. So for her to do, if she wanted to ever open that all the way, then a cordless would be difficult for her.
Mm-hmm.
I've got probably a good 5 or 6 inches on her, and I've got 8-foot ceilings, so I can reach all the tops of my windows. So if I ever want to open it all the way up, it's no problem. So that's one time that I would use the traditional clutch, is just for height reasons. The other time is if you're doing a top-down, bottom-up treatment, which you will be seeing. That one, right now, it's just not out there with all of the the engineering or whatever is not really out there to do a cordless top-down, bottom-up for custom Romans. We can do a motorized top-down, bottom-up. It does take 2 motors, but we can do that.
Yep.
Rebecca, do you want to talk about your favorite controls?
Yeah, I do love motorized is, of course, one of my very favorites. And motorizing Roman shades is a fairly easy process. It's great to have that flexibility. I did one over a bathtub. Nobody likes to climb inside a bathtub.
That's right.
Open and close the shade. So a motor was a really great option. You know, the cordless is great. I am short. I am the short friend here. And so sometimes the cordless just isn't possible. And so I always talk people through that. And if you do need to do the traditional, you know, clutch, which has the continuous cord loop, that's a great option too. You know, it works, it functions. One of the things to think about is the color of that cord. So if you've got a white window frame, it's really easy. But, you know, I did one, I think we'll see a picture of it in a little bit, with stained frames. So we made sure that we got a loop that was a dark brown so that it just blended right in.
Oh yeah, that would be awful, having the white cord down.
Right.
Yeah, and also, you know, you're seeing that there's a lot of black framed windows now. That's kind of turning into, you know, that's one of the trends right now. And so having a white cord when you've got black framed windows, not so good.
Yep.
So
Speaking
going back
those cords.
to the cordless one. The cordless one is also amazing because of everything that's going on with child safety. And I'm going to tell you, there are still a lot of workrooms out there that are not compliant with child safety rules. And they're still making, you know, corded shades where children can get into them, get them tangled. And in this day and age, when we've learned how many issues there are, it just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, there's no reason to do those, and they don't open and close that great when you use the old cord lock systems.
I agree.
I think the cordless and the clutch open and close so much nicer. And even though the clutch has that continuous cord loop, we always make sure we secure that to the window so that does meet the child safety regulations. So, you know, there's just no reason to have those cords anymore. I know some people like to turn the head rail on its side so it has less of a, so it's away from the wall less. But there's so many other options you can use, reverse mounting with a valance. You know, there's so many ways you can tackle that without having to go to a cord. And
Right,
I think
right.
Debbie and I would both tell you, let's stay away from the cords and keep our kiddos safe.
Yes, absolutely. Now, this is a top-down, bottom-up option, and you are going to see a sample, when we go into our photos. But we've got the valance here, because behind this valance, we are hiding all of the mechanics up here that enable the top to go down. Now, you see these tiny little strings? People say, do I need the strings? I'm like, unless you're magic and you can make it hover there by itself, yes, you need strings.
Yeah.
But they're very thin. And I have to say, in my 25 years, I've never had somebody say, oh my gosh, look at the strings. They fret about it in the beginning, but then once they actually see it, you don't see
Yeah,
it.
your eye goes to the pretty shade, not to those little strings.
So in my eyes, the beauty of this treatment is, especially when you're on either a first floor, like a bedroom or a bathroom, or, depending on where you are in the city, if you want to lower this top down, and you can actually lower, have this here, lower the top down, you can be naked, nobody's going to know it. When you've got a room that's a bedroom that has blackout shades, when you get up, you don't know what time of day it is because it is so dark in there. And if you lower the top down a little bit, you can get dressed, you still have light coming in, you can see what color your shoes are without people seeing that you're running around in your bra.
Yep.
So.
Yep. No, top down is great. And look, you can still see those trees in that picture there. It's nice to see the sky and the trees without giving up all your privacy.
You're right. One of my favorite things is laying in bed with a top down, and I'm on the second floor, laying in bed, looking out the window before I get up in the morning, just looking out at the sky and the trees.
Yep.
Especially now that we're finally getting green on the trees.
Right.
Makes me happy. Rebecca, tell us about the design options.
All right, so we've got quite a few different things we can do. We talked a little bit about this picture here in the middle top where you could do a valance or not do a valance. So those are two design options. And when you do those two and you're working with someone like Debbie or I that does custom work, you can do fun things with those valances too. You can use that as an opportunity to make a design statement. We've got trim. And there's a few different ways that we can do trim when we're talking about Roman shades. We've got the vertical trim. So we've got it on either side of the Roman shade, and that's always a really pretty look. We can do horizontal trim. So those fun little tassels or beads or all sorts of fun things you can kind of have hanging down off the bottom of your Roman shade. Also with the banding and the trim, we can do it inset. So it's inset slightly from the edge of the Roman shade, or having it right on the edge. And, mostly that's just a design preference, right? And I think Debbie and I probably would tell you similar things, but when you're going to do inset versus when you're going to go on the edge, I tend to like to go all the way on the edge if I have a print and I'm doing a nice solid banding.
Right. Yes.
So you're kind of creating a border, but that can look really pretty with inset too. So.
And I love doing just, a very nice, crisp, solid shade and then insetting the banding.
Yes.
As opposed to putting it on the edge. I'm not crazy when it's all one color. I really prefer it. I
agree.
Inset. And then let me see. I got to get your face out so that we can, I don't know how to do that. The free hang bottom and the traditional bottom fold.
Yeah, so when you look at those folds here, the traditional bottom, it all folds up right on top of each other, the same exact width, right? So you wouldn't see, but you can have a free hang bottom where that bottom hangs below. You definitely want to do that when you've got some sort of trim or design or banding on it so that you can see that. And some people just prefer that look.
Yeah. I really like that because I feel like it's not as bulky looking also.
Yeah, I think the one I've got, yes, it hangs down because it's got this band
Yeah.
on the bottom. We did banding on the bottom of this one.
Oh,
So.
you're showing it. Hold on. Let me come back so I can see it.
Oh, sorry.
Yep, there you go. So it is. Okay, so it's hanging down also.
Yeah, because you don't want to lose that pretty banding you did.
Right, right. Okay, so material options with Romans, we've got, oh my goodness, sorry. We've got a lot of different options going on. And so I'm going to start out with woven woods. We've got woven woods here that you get such a great organic look when you use woven woods. I love the look of them.
Yeah, and it's really nice. They fold up, so I've got a little piece of one here. They just fold up so nice into a Roman shade, that woven wood material. It just works so well with that design of a Roman shade.
And we can line it, or we can leave it unlined, but it gives great texture. Like I said, an organic look. You're going to see several options where we've used it, and you know, it's a little bit unexpected because I feel like I don't feel like there's a huge amount of woven woods being used. I feel like things are more, you know, people still have like white faux wood blinds. That seems to be like more the norm. Whereas you pull in something like a woven wood, and it's just, it adds a little bit of whimsy depending on the type of woven wood it is. It mixes, it looks beautiful with linen panels. So
It does. Oh yes.
yes.
Linen panels and woven woods are great. And it adds some warmth and texture to a room. Yeah, they're great.
And then we've got sheer options.
Which I think some people don't realize, like shears are a great option in a Roman shade, you know, and we generally, when we construct them, we use clear rings and clear rods, and so that you don't see all of those things behind it. But shears are a great option in a Roman. I think it gives you all that light filtering benefit of a traditional shear, but not the look of a traditional shear.
Yes, and you put panels on the sides of it, and it's not just like a standard shade, like a Hunter Douglas pirouette or silhouette that everybody seems to have. The Roman shear is completely different, and I like adding just that little bit of crystal trim on the bottom of it to twinkle when the sunlight hits it.
Yeah, that's great. The next one here this is actually roller shade material made into a Roman shade. And one of the vendors that both Debbie and I use do this. It's a great way, and they've got so many beautiful Roman shade materials to choose from. One of the times when it's great to use this is if you really care about having the window all the way open, because that stack is a lot smaller than what you'd get on a traditional roller shade with fabric, because the material's not as bulky. So you get a really tight, clean stack on that Roman shade.
Right, and also I'm going to say, depending on what you're selecting, that's going to be a little bit less of a price than if you're going with a custom fabric Roman shade that you've chosen. Like you see the next one with this pattern, you know, gorgeous pattern, but that's a beautiful custom shade.
Yep.
Lining options. Okay, so we've got blackout, we've got light filtering, and then we've got no lining. And unless there's something you want to really talk about with this, I've got a picture that kind of shows.
You know, the only thing is sometimes we will use inner lining depending on the design you're going for. If you want it to be a real thick, meaty fold on your Roman shade, we might put inner lining in it to give it that thicker fold. But sometimes we're looking for a thinner, cleaner fold. So depending on where we land on that, we would help you choose different linings.
And that thicker fold, it adds that degree of opulence to it. So that works really well on, like, picture if it's a silk, you know, if you're doing something in silk or something like that, and you just want it's almost like having a blanket behind that fabric. It just, frankly, it makes you want to walk up and touch it.
Yes, it does.
All right. So what, Rebecca, tell them about this. This is exciting.
Yeah, so we're going to hop into some pictures in a minute with different Roman shades that Debbie and I have worked on in some of our projects, and we can apply what we just learned about Roman shades. But we've also, all of our coffee and curtains are now going to be on YouTube. So you can, like I said, binge watch us. I mean, who needs Tiger King when you've got Debbie and Rebecca? But our coffee and curtains will be out there, and there was that link, and we'll make sure to send that out to all of you guys. So if you decide you're going to do a Roman shade project, or you want to look at some of those before and afters from last week to help give you some ideas before you hop into your projects.
All right. Tell me, can you see this?
I see your pretty face.
You see my face?
Yes.
Oh, wait a minute. Hang on. Now can you see it? Do you see Roman shades?
Nope, I see your pretty face.
Oh my goodness. Hold on.
You got to share again.
Wait a minute.
All right.
All right. What am I doing here?
So while she's doing that, I'm going to tell you some of the reasons and places that I love to use Roman shades. So I think Roman shades are great because they cover practical and pretty. They're easy to open and close. They cover all your needs, but they kind of cover the gamut as far as design styles. You know, if you're more traditional and you may want a relaxed Roman shade because that little swoop at the bottom just calls to more of your traditional look. If you really like a clean line and a more contemporary aesthetic, that flat Roman shade is going to give you those pretty folds, but it adds a level of softness to the room that is better than a faux blind. It just adds just a little bit of softness with still being clean and contemporary. So the Roman shade just has so much versatility. That's part of why I love to use it in my window designs. And I think Debbie would probably tell you a similar thing.
Do you see it yet?
Nope, I still see you.
Oh my goodness. Why am I having trouble with this today?
I don't know, it's okay. We'll
Bear
get
with
there.
me, guys.
Do you want me to see if I can bring them up?
Yes, please. That would be great if you can.
Sure.
Because I'm just clicking all around, finding all sorts of beautiful pictures.
All right, I got them. All right, do you guys see my screen now?
There you go. Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Save my
All
butt
right.
on that one.
I shared this one before. These are all motorized. So there were 4 windows in this office. Really beautiful embroidered fabric we used. We wanted to keep things a little tighter on the window frame. And because they're such long windows, we did the banding at the top and at the bottom just to break it up a little bit. But again, these were outside mounted, so we wanted to keep it in tight enough, but knowing that you'd have a little bit of light, you know, there was that, we kind of were balancing how do I keep it in tight and tailored, but not so tight that we'll end up seeing lots of light on the side. So I think it worked out well.
That's perfect, because the other thing is, and people always struggle back and forth with this, a lot of times I have people say, oh, but can I see part of the frame? Well, could you picture if this was closed all the way and you've got wall about a 1/2 inch of the frame, then you've got the treatment, 1/2 inch of the frame and wall. And it just does not give a nice finished clean look. It just looks messy. So this was perfect.
Yeah. So this particular window actually has a really horrible top to it. It's got a weird shape. And so the whole goal when I walked into their house was they were getting their master bedroom completely redone, and they never wanted to see that shape again. This is a master bedroom, so we did the reverse mount, which is why and instead of just doing a valance, we did a cornice board above it. You can see with their furniture, they were going for some more contemporary lines. Another fun design trick is, you know, we wanted to do blackout, and that was really important here. But she didn't want the room to feel dark and heavy. So we picked a fabric with a light background. So even though light can't come through it, even when it's down, if you have the lights on the room, it doesn't feel like a dark and heavy window treatment. So that's a fun little trick that you can use when you're doing things.
You know, the other thing I noticed on this is if you look where the molding is on the two sides of the window, Rebecca went over the molding on the left and right because with blackout, trying to get a room as dark as possible, you typically want to go out a couple of inches on each side to hide as much light as possible, or however you want to explain.
Yeah, because you can see there's still, even though it's reverse mounted, I mean, this was a really bright day and the sun was coming in that direction. But you can still see there's still a little bit of a halo of light, even doing a reverse mount and going a couple inches on each side. So, you know, you don't want it to go too far out on each side that it starts to look ridiculous, but just enough that it cuts down on some of that halo effect that comes in.
Okay, so this one was a fun one that I did, and actually the white part that's on the windows that's a woven wood, and then the hot pink part above it, all of that hot pink is just a faux shade, and that was just to bring in a little bit of color, a little bit of interest. So that, I mean, imagine if we just had panels on the left and right and everything else would have been white, it wouldn't have looked so nice. And we really wanted a lot of color in this room.
It's beautiful. It's so fun. And I love the trim you put on here.
Oh, that trim was fabulous. One is a ribbon with buttons on it, and then we did pom-poms at the bottom. And I am like so in love with pom-poms right now.
Pom-poms are very popular right now.
Yeah, I want to do great big ones. I'm still trying to figure out where I'm going to do the great big massive ones.
That's awesome. I like the tie backs with the big massive ones. Those are pretty.
Those are fun.
We saw those.
Yes, at one of the shows. Yes.
Yeah. Oh, these are pretty.
Okay, so this I worked on this one actually with a designer that I work with, and we wanted to have something in that arch window, but we really wanted it to be sheer. So this is where we're using like a sheer linen. I don't even think we lined this one. Or
it doesn't look like it.
If we did, we self-lined it. It was very sheer. And then I love the beaded trim at the bottom.
Yeah, now, that's so pretty.
If you go to the next picture. All right, so you see the sheer linen on the right-hand side. And ultimately, I would have done it on this left window too to keep things consistent. But that window ends right at the bottom of that wood blind.
Right down here?
That's where that window starts. I mean, it was like a little hobbit window.
Yeah.
And it threw the whole room off. So this is where we disguised the architecture. Black outlined that woven wood so that you can't tell that there's a wall behind it. And then we threw the panels up with it just to give it a very
well, that's so, and it ties it in. I mean, this is the same material, right, as that.
Yep. Yes.
Yeah, so it ties it in. That was such a great solution. So smart. Love that.
This one is a knife pleat. So if you see kind of the horizontal lines in it, those are just raised knife pleats, pulling in, just pulling the whole room together, and it was inside mounted. You can see the trim above it.
Yeah.
And I just, just a nice basic treatment that kind of pulled the room together.
Yeah, that's great. I love that.
This one is actually a valance. So I had we did a custom roller shade in the fabric behind.
So pretty.
And then we did, remember in the beginning I was talking about the soft folder, the hobbled Romans. We did the hobbled Roman for the valance and then pulled in the fabric that we used on the roller shades.
So pretty.
Just to add some consistency.
Yeah, yeah. And I like that. The hobble on the valance just gives it some more body. It's pretty.
Right. Yep. Okay, now we've got this picture. I want you, and then the next picture. So let me tell you on this picture real quick. Go back for a second. Okay, you see how this is a window seat cushion?
Yep.
Okay, so this is a window seat. You've got the top of the window, the woven wood goes into the top of the window, and then we've got the panels. That is on the right side of the room. Now the next picture is on the left side of the room. So these two, the window mirrors this door, but that door,
that's great,
was far lower. Again, that door is at the bottom of that woven wood. So again, it's if we lowered those panels, it would have looked ridiculous. And if we would have raised it without anything in between, that would have looked silly. So we're fooling the eye by where we placed that woven wood.
Yeah, and when you do that and you've got that line of sight all lined up, it allows your eye and your mind to really just take in and enjoy the room instead of being distracted by the things that are different.
Correct. Yep.
It's great.
This one, again, I was just showing a woven wood.
Woven wood.
I know I said that woven woods aren't used a lot, and I've shown a lot of pictures where I've used them. But I do think, and here, it just brings in some warmth, and they're inside mounted whenever they can be.
That's great. It's a nice use of that.
And
is this a white woven?
Those are woven also.
Pretty.
Yeah. Yeah, you are going to see
I love it.
My fabric Romans.
Yes.
I've done some of them.
It's so great. And woven woods aren't just like little matchstick tiki hut type things. Like there's so many different colors and textures that you can use that work in so many different design aesthetics.
Oh yeah. It almost, there's some that even look like just like raw silk now.
Yes, I love those new ones. They're beautiful.
Angela, who's on the call, I think I did Roman shades for her. I want to say her entire upstairs.
Nice.
Not in woven woods. We did it in different colored fabrics.
Great.
Okay, so here's a treatment at the bottom of the stairs, and you'll see, I think I've got a close-up of that further down. But that's the relaxed. And it's so just pretty. Got a beautiful trim on the bottom of it. It's not functional. It's just there just to look pretty.
I love it. And it does exactly what it's supposed to do. And it looks so pretty with those ginger jars.
Oh yeah. And how about the stripes above?
Yes, I love the stripes.
This is a massive octagon room. And we had so many curves and corners and everything to pull in. But this is I'm forgetting now what they call this room. It's not just a sun room. It's more like their tropical room. And so that's where we pulled in the woven woods.
All the fun tropical stuff. That's great.
Yep.
Oh, this is my favorite house of yours.
These were woven woods, and they're motorized. And at the very end, the last picture, you're going to see kind of the other side of the house with this so that you can see how many windows they have motorized. A push of a button and they can raise all 6, or they can raise 1. I mean, there's so many options with the motorization. Could you imagine having to go and open every day? And that's just on this side. And they're on the bay. So, you really
they've got a beautiful view. Yeah, you want to be able to open that up.
This right here shows where,
I'll be in a second.
The first shade is down, and the separate privacy layer is raised all the way up. The next one shows where we have the woven wood with the lining because it's detached. So we can either have it up or down. And then the third one shows where, they wanted to raise it up a little bit and not have the lining. So it's so functional. This is a house at the store. And we had to put that blackout liner on because they do get intense sunlight, but only at certain parts of the day, depending on where the light is. So because it's detached, we've got so many different options.
Yeah, that's so nice when you can lift and, raise and lift that lining without raising and lifting the whole shade, and to do that independently. It just gives you so much flexibility with your window treatments and how you want to manage light and privacy.
And the beauty with this also is one of those is cordless. You can't do both, but one is cordless. So the actual woven wood is cordless, And then
Nice.
when you want to raise or lower the liner behind it, that's on the cord.
That's perfect. Another
Again,
pretty woven wood.
Just a pretty woven wood.
Yeah, inside pretty molding.
Right. Yep.
Oh, look at this pretty one.
I told you I do fabric also.
I knew that, but now they can believe you too.
I just wanted to prove that I don't do all of that in woven wood.
That's really pretty. Top down.
This is top down, bottom up with the inset trim. And like I said, unfortunately, because it's top down, bottom up, you do have to have cords on both sides, but they're attached cords. So they're the continuous cord loop. And this is on a first floor, so it enables them to have some nice sunlight coming in while they're in the bathroom.
Yeah, that's great. I love it. You can still see all that greenery outside without giving up all your privacy. It's really nice. These are white. Are those woven woods? They're pretty white woven woods.
Yeah.
This is the motorized Roman shade that I did above a bathtub. And I think I explained in another episode that we turned this fabric on its side so that it matched the sideways diamonds in the tile here. But it was a fun Roman shade to do. You know, it's always, there's not molding on the outside of this window, so you always need to go out a little bit wider. I don't want to take it just to here, or you'd get a lot of light leakage coming in on the sides.
Also in the bathroom, we don't need people like, you know, seeing something, being able to see in.
Right. There's another angle.
And there it is again. So pretty.
Yes. This was someone, she suffers from migraines. So making sure we didn't have pinholes of light coming through. Like she wanted a place she can go in and create a little cave when she's got a migraine and not have light. So,
perfect.
You know, and with Roman shades, you can see we pattern matched on these seams here because it was wider than the width of the fabric. And depending on your fabric and the height of the window, sometimes you can put it on its side and not have any seams. But, you know, as long as you match up those patterns really well and those seams, they're really not noticeable.
Right. I agree. This right here is, again, bringing in that soft fold Roman up top just to disguise the height of the window so that we could we could bring the draperies all the way up and see the beautiful crown molding.
So pretty. Oh, I love these.
These are just simple and clean.
But I think it goes back to what we were saying earlier, you know, this flat Roman shade, but with that pretty pattern, you get to really enjoy that beautiful pattern on these shades.
Right. Yes. And there's not as much stack on the bottom because these do not go all the way down. Privacy was not an issue, and they were never going to be changed. So we made them just a little bit shorter so that we didn't have as deep of a stack.
Yeah. The other thing that we always think about when we're doing Roman shades that have patterns like this is, can we line up all the folds on the pattern? Do we line them up staggered? You know, I spent a lot of time down in the workroom kind of baking folds until I figure out what I think is going to look best and lay the best on the Roman shade. Yeah.
This right here, these are on doors. They're flat Romans. If you see on the left-hand side, that door literally goes right into the wall. So these we had to turn on the side so that we could open the door. I mean, I went through so many different options, and we were very limited with what we were able to do. They turned out beautiful. The client,
they are gorgeous.
Yeah, and it was a fun project to do.
And talking about how the pattern lays in the fold, this is one where like the pattern continues down through the fold, which I love it when it does that. That's always fun.
This is just, this client just needed a little burst of color. We didn't want to have too much. It's kind of hard to see. There's three little folds there.
Folds right in here.
She just wanted it very clean. So we actually have a pleat of
right
in
here and
between.
here.
Yeah, yep. We've got a
Yeah,
little
that
pleat
looks
in between
pretty.
each section.
That's really nice.
Very simple. We pulled in banding to pull in the banding that's on the side panels.
Love that.
And it was just a nice way just to finish off the room.
So pretty. More top down.
Top down, bottom up. And that has, remember I said that I usually go with the knife pleats
Mm-hmm.
so that it doesn't look like a sheet hanging there.
Yeah. Yeah,
A
this is a
pretty,
perfect example of that. Just giving
yep.
it those little uh, scenes just gives it a little bit more interest. Yeah,
Now
love
this,
it.
and also this house, this was a little crazy because everything is off. This is a historical building. So
Uh,
everything is off, and we wanted to show the beautiful moldings. You see how deep those moldings are on the sides?
yeah,
So we had to mess with it quite a bit just to get it so that everything would hang right and look right in this historical building.
it's pretty. Oh,
Woven
pretty
wood,
woven.
where it's water falling off the front. And then here on the
Mm-hmm.
left, I think if you go to the next picture, it shows a woven wood. There you
Ah,
go. Woven wood on the door.
that's
Just
pretty.
kind of pulling the room together. We're, again, working with the design aspect that's in that client's room to begin with.
Yep.
This one right here, we've got again a faux valance disguising the height of that window.
So pretty. Oh, I
And
love
this
this
client,
angle. That's so fun.
yeah, she wanted to just pull in a little bit, and they're such tiny windows. And we ended up using a great burlap and with
Beautiful.
gorgeous beading. She was kind of on the, was on the edge. She wasn't sure if she wanted to use the beading or not, but look at
Uh-huh.
the beading hanging off the chandelier.
Yeah, it's perfect. That
It,
was a perfect
yep.
tie-in. It's
And once
beautiful.
it was there, she said, "Oh, it would have been really boring otherwise."
Yeah, and it just fits in with the total design aesthetic in this room. That was a perfect touch. Love
Yep.
it. Oh.
Again, working with, and it's hard to see in this
Now
picture.
that's not a challenge.
Oh yeah, that was, that's one of those measure 20 times, cut once.
Right.
And really working just to make sure that we had it to fit, and that window was not, those angles were not the same. The length is not the same. But the fabric, look at how perfectly that fabric works with the bedding.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
And I didn't do the bedding. She had that bedding.
Wow, and you guys found something that was just a perfect match.
It's one of those, how sometimes you go in and you think, oh my gosh, how are we going to do this?
Uh-huh.
And that fabric, in the back of my mind, I thought, wait a minute, I've got something that's going to work. I brought it up, and I mean, we didn't even have to think twice. It was like, oh,
right?
okay,
It was like
there
finding
you
your
go.
wedding
That's
dress.
Yeah.
That's the one.
Love it when that happens.
Yep. This is a pretty relaxed Roman shade. So
Relaxed
pretty.
Roman over the tub. We had wanted to do motorization, but could not because of the lights.
Mm-hmm.
Those inset lights were, we would be on top of them. So, but it's still a cordless one, and she loves it. It's gorgeous.
That's great. And with relaxed Roman shades, you have fewer cords going through them, holding the shade up. That's how you get your fun little swoop here. But
Yep.
so often you have to be, there's several different things you can do, but they'll start to come in if you don't have like a rod in there or some other things that we can do. I've even seen some people construct them as a regular Roman shade till you get to the bottom and then create a swoop down just as the bottom. But there's just some different things that you can do, but it's something to consider. I love them because they add softness to a room. That just add some softness, that nice little smile at the bottom, right?
Right, but they do have, you're right, they do have that, they do toe in. So you have to just be careful with it
And
and
just
make
plan
sure,
for that and think about it and how you're
right.
going to set that on the window and how far out. You can see Debbie came out a little bit further here past the molding, which was really smart because it will start to pull in a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
This was a Roman shade for a nursery, and they had the blinds there, but they felt like too much light was getting through, so we did these blackouts so that at night they could pull those down. And you can see it was a safari theme, and we had some fun safari. And this must have been before the installer attached our cord to the wall.
Definitely,
Sometimes
definitely.
I start taking pictures, and he's still working. Half
I
the
do
time
that
his
too.
half the time his hand or his rear end's in my picture.
And I get from them, can you just wait until it's all dressed
Right?
in?
I get so excited. It's so fun to see them finally up there. This is a sheer with some stripes in it, and they're relaxed Romans. Those just She was not concerned about privacy. She really just wanted to dress up the room a little bit and be able to filter some of the light because it does come in pretty strong in the afternoon.
This right here is in a bathroom, and her
So pretty.
concern was she just wanted to have some coverage because the kids' playground was right outside the window. So she really didn't want that because right here, her shower is right across from it, and motorization does a world of good when you've got a bathtub.
It does. It absolutely does.
World of
Everybody
good.
needs a motorized treatment above their bathtub.
Mhm.
Oh, these are my favorites. These
I
linens.
know, I know,
They're
I know
so
many of
pretty.
you have seen this one before, and these are linen Romans. And then we did, and actually these linen Romans they were not lined. And she just needed a little bit of coverage. She wanted a lot of light coming through. And then we just did a fun valance on top.
One of the things I love about the linen is just the way it sits in those folds. It's not perfect and crisp, and there's something about that that's just like light and airy, and I love it.
Right. It gives kind of a slouchy look too, which
Mm-hmm.
it's just not perfect.
Yep. Well, these are pretty. Oh, these remind me of the dining room ones.
Yes, yes. And you can't tell, but on the bottom of these Romans, we do have glass beading again.
Oh,
And,
so pretty.
and with these, we had initially done them plain. And it was in this room, as you can tell, it's a more formal room, and it was just missing
Mm-hmm.
something. So we pulled in the panels, and she absolutely, I think she said this is her favorite room out of all of them that we've done.
Oh, that's the best.
And this was one of her rooms.
Oh, nice.
This is same house, top down, bottom up. And I think a lot of you have seen this picture before, but again, it's just playing on the design elements. This is a client that I worked with, Jennifer Hoffman, I think, Jennifer Hoffman from Our House Furniture in New Jersey. And she helped pull the room together, and it's always fun. I love collaborating with my designers to make sure that I am following their vision as well as making sure that it looks absolutely amazing.
Yeah. And that back to what's amazing about a room and shade, right? But there's just something about these folds that just adds an extra layer of like texture and interest to the room. And it's so nice that you can pull them up and get full window views. Unlike blinds where you're like looking through something. Instead, it's pretty up and it's pretty down.
Right, right. This right here is, like Rebecca had said before, this is on a roller. So it gives a Roman shade look, but it rolls up into the cassette. And
Mm-hmm.
this was a Hunter Douglas product that I
Nice.
was working with. And it's cordless. It's perfect because this beautiful room is also part playroom.
So you can
So
keep.
it's perfect with it being cordless as well.
Yeah, that's great. Oh
And
yeah,
that's
those
a
are
little bit
pretty.
closer up of it.
Yeah, so you get that You get the Roman shade look, but the roller shade functionality.
Yep.
Oh, there's the
This,
close-up of the stripes.
this is
I love
the
stripes.
one, yeah, this was the one where I had shown you, you saw with the stripes above. And I just, look at how gorgeous that trim is. I mean, it's just
Hmm.
perfect.
And I think horizontal or vertical stripes work really well in a Roman shade.
This is just, this is showing just the wood
The wool.
blind.
Hmm.
And I know that we're getting close to time. So
Yeah,
what
we
else do we
are.
have going through?
This was just another Roman that I showed where we took it out past because there was no molding. So, you still need to make sure when you're doing your Roman shades, if you're not going to do inside mount, that you bring it out far enough. And this is one where we probably could have put it inside mount, but there was a lot of space up here, and we really wanted it to be sort of like art in the room, right? All that texture and the pretty colors. And since there wasn't molding, we wanted it to stand out.
Very nice.
Yeah, these were just some that we did with some banding on either side, to tie in with some drapes that she had. So, and Roman shades are a nice option on doors. Debbie, I saw you've used them on doors too.
Oh yeah, and the next one, this is just a fun one, and then the next
Yeah,
one I think is on a door.
yep, they work great on doors.
This is
So
just showing it in a valance.
there's that
Just
pretty
again, a little
smile.
valance, pulling in some fabric. Uh,
Uh,
this one,
got that
we
pretty.
had it all on the, yeah, all of the windows, and then I think the next one, I believe,
Oh, whoops. Nope, we were at the end.
no, keep going, keep going.
I gotta get out of here now.
All the way at the bottom.
This panorama.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Ah, oh, that's so beautiful.
Okay, so this one is the one that I wanted to, that I told you, where you can see all on the right and all on the left. All of those are motorized. They're all Roman shades. And so you've got, I think it's 12 windows where you can, use the motorization. Anyway, I know that
That's
this was
beautiful.
quick, but I know that we're getting close to our time. What I'd like to do
Yeah,
is finish our recording real quick, and then I'll just say goodbye to everybody. Does that work?
that works.
Okay, so thank you everybody for coming and seeing, for spending the hour with us.